Hello, hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Hello, welcome. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil, and this is Rockin the Love.
It is indeed.
And we're excited to be here, no?
Yes, we are.
Oh,
We're
boy.
so excited. And that's because we're always excited to be here.
That's true.
But in the midst of moving our house, we're looking for any break we can find. So we're excited to be here with you. And today we are talking about the magic of movement.
Uh-huh.
Ooh. And yeah, we're going to talk about that more in depth. But before we do that, please let us know you're here. Say hello and let us know you're out there. Shay, you're out there.
Hey.
So glad you're there. You know, I was actually thinking about you this morning as I was thinking about this show because I was thinking Shay might actually get a little insight into our backstory that she asked for on this episode. So there you have it. And our backstory being that we are a married couple who live in different parts of the United States. So we are together right now.
Yes, indeed. We're actually, this is one more week that we're together.
In Oakland, California.
Because of the reality of moving and how many things there are to do, I'm here until next Tuesday. So there you go.
God is good.
Yes. So I'm doing a lot of work remotely and trying to stay in touch with everything there. I'm going to actually be speaking at my center remotely this week, which I'm excited about because I haven't spoken in a while. I wasn't expecting to be gone so long and all of that. So it's good. It's coming together. We've gotten to hang out with a few friends, do a few things besides pack boxes, find boxes, big things. It's just crazy.
And then we have our good friends out there that may have stopped by our house and picked up some of our recycling and things to go donate and do all those things. And it's just great. It's just great being with people. And, you know, you really know how much you're loved when you're moving. I mean, because people show up and they show up in an amazing way. Yep. I wouldn't wish moving on my worst enemy. Exactly. And that's why we're going to talk about the magic of movement today.
That's right.
So, but before we do, tell me about your week.
Well,
It's weird to ask you when you're here. I know how your week was.
Yeah. It's like, what? I'm going to tell you something new. Gosh, I have just, it's a week of tearing things apart. Removing things, packing things, putting things in boxes, and then storing them away somewhere. But it's been good.
Look who's here.
It's been good.
Carol Lombardo.
Carol.
Happy moving. When did you move? Are you gone?
Oh, we're never gone, Carol. You know that.
There's nothing that says we're gone. But no, we're not. We're not moved. I'm still here, Carol. I am still right here in Oakland, California. And this week we're moving on. Never mind. Stay tuned for the whole show. I'm not giving away any secrets up top because the people will leave. So that was your week. Anything else about your week?
Not that you think of really this time around. It's been pretty,
Yeah, it's pretty focused.
Just it's step one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other.
Right. So
stay tuned.
She wants to know if we're moving together now. Okay, yeah, like he said, stay tuned. We'll get to that. My week was good. It's interesting, I think, for me, because you've already moved from here. So it's not, but moving from here, like people are asking me questions and I'm not a big talker. You might not know that, but
from the show, you wouldn't know that.
But I don't like to talk about myself and talk about what's happening. And half the time it's because I don't know, because I am very in the moment and I want to I'm very open-ended if you're a Myers-Briggs person, and I want to have options. So if I say I'm doing one thing, I don't want to have to tell somebody later I changed my mind and it's different. I like to just be able to do it and not have anybody ask me anything.
Well, it's interesting. You bring up a really good point there. Because I moved. When I show up in town, I get to say hi to people, and they're like, "It's so nice to see you." But you're at that point where they're going, "Wait, are you going to be gone? What's happening?"
Well, and they're like,
And we got to
no.
celebrate you. We got to do that. People just see me and they're like, "Oh, good to see you. Give me a hug. Maybe we can go to dinner." You know.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, people are wanting to celebrate the ending or the closure or the whatever it is, the transition into the next step. And I'm like, not there yet. So that's how my week has been. I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting to figure out, like especially at my center, and I'm in so many centers. Like people are like, "Well, where are you going to go? What are you going to do?" And I'm like, I don't know. So that's how my week has been. I mean, it's kind of there's no I don't feel like I'm getting to any point where I feel like, oh, now I can say this and I feel good about that. I feel like I'm like, I don't know, and I feel good about that, but I can tell that you don't, and that throws me into a little trauma. So, whew, that was a lot. Please tell me there's some good news. This is our good news section where we like to talk about the good news, because we know you can find the other news other places. So what do you got for me today?
Well, so we've talked about a lot in recent history about microplastics in the environment, right? You've heard about this, little tiny pieces of plastic, and different ways they show up, but whether they're potentially off of tires or they're off of out of your deodorant thing or whatever it is, right? And so some scientists in China have come up with a sponge that can grab 90% of these, at the source, like where you have water, you have a water source or something like that, you can collect 90% of those coming out of there with these little sponges, which are as light as a feather. They're made out of almost nothing, and they work. So they're still working on them because part of the manufacturing included formaldehyde, which of course isn't such a great thing. So they're still working on that. But the other interesting piece in there was that we consume as much as 50 credit cards worth of plastic in that microplastic stuff. And I think they said in a year.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
I can't even lose that many credit cards in a year.
I can't even get approved for that.
Let alone eat them. Jeez.
Yeah. So, no, it's crazy.
But anyway, I think it was fascinating that they could capture 90+% of the microplastics, and this could create a huge difference in the quality of water and the quality of various things that we have. So, pretty cool. What's up? What'd you find?
Very cool. Well, my good news is an homage to our producer, Michael Mangus, and also our sister, Courtney, as it hails from the motherland of Ohio. So what it is a little known ancient site in Ohio that was crowned by UNESCO for incredible alignment with moon and sun.
Was the original Stuckey's? What was it? Oh, no, I'm sorry. In Ohio. That's what I figured.
I know, that's so not right. But okay, so it talks about in the Rust Belt state of Ohio that it's famous for being the epicenter of so much great American music and a little known collection of earthen mounds that has made national headlines for the historic testament to the maker's deep wisdom. And this is only the 25th property from the United States to have the honor of being placed on this UNESCO World Heritage List in the world. And what they found was a site that was built between 2000 and 1600 years ago. And it's described as a complex masterpiece of landscape architecture. And it says it's exceptional among the ancient monument worldwide in the enormous scale of geometric precision and astronomical alignment.
Mm.
And there's huge squares and circles and pentagons and all those kind of precise type things that were built by dispersed communities of American Indians who periodically gathered at these special places to worship and stay connected to one another. And that it took decades of advocacy from people in Ohio and from groups like that to get it declared what it is. And it says one of the site's truly interesting features is its collection of Native American artifacts that have origins from all over North American continent, including stuff from the Gulf of Mexico, seashells and shark's teeth and all of those things. And that the site was probably a gathering place for ritual and people who live there,
Yeah, it sounds like a place people came to, sort of a conference center in a certain way, a major gathering. Where was this again? What was it called?
It's the site. What's the site called?
Yeah.
Well, the foundation that is UNESCO, that
the heritage site called UNESCO, but I was just wondering what the place is, like, is it Dayton or?
No, it doesn't say. It doesn't really say that.
Oh, okay. It doesn't really say. Okay. Okay, but it's in Ohio.
Yeah, it's in Ohio. And it, they said that after all that, like over the next 200 years, trees began to grow and things like that, and everything got covered up, and that by like 650 CE, people began building on top of everything, and so perhaps a lot of the secrets and things were lost. But now it joins on the World Heritage List, properties like Stonehenge and such.
Wow.
I think it's so fascinating when things like that, like all of a sudden, like how do you know? Like you find a shark's bone and then you tear down a building, or
and how we just determined that they just found the fossilized footprints in North America from 25 plus thousand years ago, which is way beyond when most of the theories have theorized people came to the Americas. So, wow, changes everything quickly.
It does, and it also, like when people start to, but people start to identify, or talk about we're standing on sacred ground. We really are standing on sacred ground.
It's all sacred.
It's all sacred.
Yeah.
Something went on here, thousands and thousands of years ago, no matter if it's declared a historical site or not.
Well, and even this, we're moving from a house here in Oakland, and someday down the road, this is a very special site where families have maintained and all that stuff. So, is this what it is here?
Clearly, our producer has decided, yes, that this is
Hopewell Ceremonial Earthworks. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Ceremonial Earthworks. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Ohio's first UNESCO World Heritage Site.
See, Ohio, but it doesn't say where.
I know, I see that.
Does it say where, Michael Mangus? I know he'll let us know in no time. So let's take a break and we'll come back and we'll start to talk about the magic of movement. And let's just all breathe in and just bless the sacred ground we're on and come right back here after these thoughts on New Thought Media Network. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, we are back. I'm Robyn,
And I'm Gil.
and this is Rockin the Love. And we're so excited today to not only be together, but to have Myrna here. Hola, Myrna.
Hola.
¿Cómo estás, comadre mía? We're also talking about the magic of movement.
Mm.
What does that mean?
Well, there's so many different ways to look at movement.
There are, and that's funny that you say that because I was going to ask you because I think so. Usually we don't talk about the show. We do our own research and then we come back and then we talk here. We don't talk about, okay, we think we should do this and we should do it in this order. We don't do any of that. You might be able to tell, but I'd like to pretend that you didn't know. So I was going to ask you because I think that you've looked at movement differently than I have.
Could be. I mean, I think about movement in. Well, you even said it to me a minute ago. I didn't stand up and do my movement before the show. I really think it's important to move our bodies and move things along, get things flowing. That's a magical type of movement. It's an incredible type of movement.
Mm-hmm.
There's I have definitions in there, but there's a definition of movement as a group of people in some kind of cooperation working toward a central aim. A movement, a group of people who share the same beliefs, ideas, or aims, working towards something. So that's movement.
That is movement.
What else is movement?
Well, we're moving.
That's movement.
Moving from your house, but physically moving, like that kind of movement. But I looked up synonyms for movement, and I thought it was interesting because there was like action, change, progress, shift, evolution, exercise, flow, migration. I mean, there's a ton, and so I thought, well, what would happen if you substituted those words in the sentence? Like if you ask me, so what's the evolution of your house?
How's the migration going?
Yes, how's the migration going? It gives me a different feel and a different thought and a different, for lack of a better word, I want to say a different depth. It makes me think about it in a different way.
And well, movement, change. I mean, movement sort of comes under the big title of change, I think, because there's something's moving. If it's moving, then it's moving forward. It's it's the old thing that if you're stopped, you can't make a U-turn. You can't change direction if you're not moving at all. And so movement is important even when sometimes it appears to be in the quote wrong direction or whatever. It's important to be in the motion because that allows you to adjust and change.
And Carol says movement is freedom in so many ways, a destination or action.
Yeah. And movement, when we think about relationships, which is what we talk about all the time. How is movement related to relationships? I mean, what relationship do you know of that is that appears to be or feels good where there isn't any movement or change?
Well, right.
Okay, go ahead. I see it coming.
Okay. Is that possible?
To what?
To not have any movement or change.
There you go.
I mean, because when you ask that question, like I think of the teenagers. I go first to the kids because anyone who's raised children that have been teenagers and survived it knows that it doesn't appear that there's movement a lot of the time. And then you get those little glimmers of hope when they're with someone else or in front of other people, or they somehow do the right thing. And you go, oh my God, it's like the movies. It's like the audience is listening. All of a sudden, that somehow they've heard and it's connected. You know what I mean?
Mm,
But for sake of this conversation,
that's a good point, though.
yeah, I mean, I think it's like the undercover point.
That movement is happening. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to note, Myrna mentioned that movement can release all stress out of the body, mind, and soul. And when you look at the scales of what is stressful in a person's life, moving is extremely stressful. So there's that movement, I guess, like most things, encompasses a lot. Sometimes it feels good and it's allowing us to expand, and sometimes it feels restrictive and it feels unfamiliar. And yet the ultimate result, I believe, is generally good.
Yes, and I think also you said, well, this is exactly what I was going to say, Carol. Basically, life is not stationary, even when you are stuck, and that's truth. Even though we don't always see or feel or can acknowledge the movement is always happening. Evolution is happening. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So, but for the purposes of today's conversation.
Okay. All right.
What was the question? Movement and in regards to moving. What did you ask?
Yeah, I just said that moving is considered stressful in life, and Myrna pointed out that movement, like our body movement and some of those kind of things, really allow us to release the stress. So it's very interesting.
But I think that's true in moving as well, right? I mean, so it's stressful, getting it done, getting it ready, throwing out things, not throwing out things, whatever your process is, packing it up and moving it out. And generally, upon arrival at your new place, for the most part, I know there are other situations where it may be not what you want, but if it's generally it's for our good, right? And generally there is a point at which you feel relief and feel relaxed. Go ahead.
Can you say that about relationships? When you're going through a change or a movement where sometimes it feels really, really hard to work through something, like you have a disagreement or whatever, and you have to work through that, and it requires each person to move some. But when you finally get to the place where you're able to come to a new agreement or something, that it feels good, it feels positive, it feels releasing.
Yes, I can, and that is a perfect lead into our story in some ways. Because I was as I was doing this research, I started thinking about actually the movement that's involved in love, just the movement of love. Because I think that love is always moving, always changing, always evolving. And
just a note, that's what Shay said a minute ago, that God is the only constant, and even God is evolving. So it's that constant evolution.
Right. And I thought about when we first started dating, or when we first met. So when we first met, we didn't know each other. But we really didn't know each other. I mean, like we had never, we talked on the phone before we ever met. So we talked on the phone for a few months. And by the time we met, we already knew we were in a relationship. We already knew that it was, even though we hadn't had a first date, it was past the first date stage. We were pretty in there. So how that looked is like Gil was in Northern California. I was in Southern California. He would drive down. I mean, he would come for one night and drive back. We did all kinds of things that involved a lot of movement. I would get on a plane and not only physical movement, but like the mental movement to even think it could work. Like I have friends that go, "Oh yeah, no, I couldn't possibly date them. They live a state away." I'm like, because for me, I'm like, only a state? I've dated people in other countries, I mean, but like, I mean, not, I mean, I just mean like for me.
Since we've been married or? Oh, okay. Sorry.
For me, no, but I mean, for me, I know no boundaries.
Right.
So if I love someone or if there's something happening, I just figure out how to make it work as opposed to going, oh no, it stops here. The boundary is, Fifth Street. And, I just don't understand. So when we moved, I mean, when we finally got together and everything, and flash forward 10 years later, Gil gets a job. That's his dream job. He's going to be a minister in Northern California, and I was, what do you mean leave Southern California? Because I had grown up there my whole life. I'm an actress. I'm this, I'm that, and I'm entrenched. I've gone to school. All my friends, everything. So we move because I'm married. No one said for better or for worse, but don't change the location. However,
no zip code changes.
Be aware if that's a big thing for you, get it in there. But so we move, and then again, 10 years later, he gets another job, and it happens to be in
another state.
Yeah, pushing the boundary was Northern California, but another state was like, I wasn't ready. Not to mention, we had plenty of things going on here. We have family here that we live with and take care of.
A lot had changed in that time.
In that time, we had kids that had grown from 3 to 13, 14, and all of that. And so it didn't feel like the right time to leave the family. So we just were like, okay, we're fluid. We'll be a household in 2 places. But I say all that to say that the movement, we had to agree to movement.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because he had to be open to be here. I had to be open to be there and to get on a plane and kids went there and mothers went there and movement, I mean, that's
constant movement and change. And what's interesting that I'm thinking of now is this thing that we're doing right here, this idea of being virtual has been so instrumental in the possibilities of movement, I think, for people, because it's taken out the need to move for some people, and it has allowed the ability to move. And so even for me taking that job, right, I was easily able to be upfront about the fact that I would be leaving from time to time and spending time in California, and working virtually instead of being on site. And that wasn't a big deal. And it isn't a big deal,
Well, it isn't a big deal, but it stretches our boundaries. I mean, because we're locked into what we know and what has been and what should be.
Right. And even I'm here moving, but yesterday I spent the entire day on phone calls, or Zoom or calls. So, and which is all good.
Yeah.
But I have the ability to be here and not have to go back and forth. I can be in one place and move. So anyway, all of that has led us to where we are now. And where are we now? What's happening now? Now the family, the household here in Oakland is moving to San Diego because of another life change, and that involved our sister's job.
Yeah.
So, which is so because of her job, that changed this location.
Well, and we also made a conscious choice. We made a conscious choice to want to live in what we felt would be a safer city, or a I don't know what the word for it is, but
Hey, I
but a
got the
cleaner
middle
city.
seat here, I think.
So we made choices. We made choices that we were clear that we were done here on some level.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Kira wants us to talk about how movement is energy. Everything is energy, and yeah, definitely more movement. So we will now be splitting our time to finish that topic, splitting our time between San Diego and New Mexico. And I will probably be in New Mexico more because I think that this schedule opens up now that the kids are a little older and stuff, where I'll be able to be there for a few weeks at a time and stuff like that. So we'll be able to fight over the chair more.
That'll be more fun.
And kick each other under the desk. Anyway,
well,
yeah.
I'll go to Carol's thing about movement being energy, because energy is all about movement. In fact, everything is about movement and vibration, which is why sound is healing, because sound is vibration, which is why light is healing, because light is vibration. And all of us are learning how to live at a vibrational level, which allows our bodies to function better. And that vibration is nothing more than energy creating movement well, it just gets more complicated, because then you go to, well, is this really solid or not? It's not really solid. It's just, geez, I don't even know.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope into metaphysics. But I mean, even if you think about, and this happens a lot in relationship, where one person says something and the other person goes, "What do you mean?" It's like, "What do you mean? What do I mean? I just said what I meant." But it's like, it depends on the tone with which we say it, right?
Right.
Or what comes across from it. Like, Gil is constantly telling me that I'm saying things that I'm not saying in my mind. In my mind, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying a lot of the times, I mean, that's a whole different show, is how we interpret what we think we know. Because I think it's true that, but there is that energetic that comes along with, things. And, if you say this, if somebody says to you, "How are you?" And you go, "I'm great." They're probably not going to believe you, and
well, and you don't believe you.
Maybe.
Which is probably why you said it that way.
Maybe.
I mean, I think the energy behind it, the movement, the energy within it says a lot about, it is a lot of what the answer is.
It is.
To any question.
And sometimes I may say I'm great, and you may not believe me, but I may be great and just thinking about something else, trying to multitask in my brain. So I just don't think it's a blanket.
No, it's not.
Vibrational thing. Anyway, okay. All right. So okay, so with this movement, it's not really good or bad, right? Or is it? Is it all good?
Well, yeah, it depends on how you view that. I mean, nothing is really good or bad except for what we decide it is. And at the same time, we know that the universe is always conspiring for us, for our good. So at some level, it is always good.
I'm sharing a quote. "All change is not growth, as all movement is not forward."
Well, yeah, that's true. Change does not necessarily mean that you've grown. I guess movement, well, yeah, like I said, even just continuing on movement sometimes has you going in the, quote, wrong direction, but that's what allows you to move, to shift directions and move somewhere else. But if you're not moving at all, ultimately not moving at all is flatlining, and flatlining is generally not good. Mr. Kevin, Reverend Kevin, how are you?
Hello to Reverend Kev. Hello to Rev Savannah. So Kevin says physicists recognize everything is dynamic, moving, and use static to analyze conditions in place at a moment in time or in a cycle or in a phase in order to learn more about dynamic conditions.
So they try to isolate some particular moment in time to then evaluate how things are moving and functioning, is what I'm hearing from that. Carol, thank you for that. We have Kevin, who will give us all the physics we need, and you will give us the reality check.
Carol says it's like a little kid with chocolate all over his face, and he says, I didn't eat the cake. It's true. Although sometimes their energetic may match what they really did do.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, I love that. I love that picture.
Oh, man. All right. So what else about what is important that we want to talk about in terms of movement? What do we want to say to people? What do we want to know as humans about what movement means?
Kevin says that metaphysics is the same. Stillness is sometimes necessary to get in the flow. And I think that recognizing that the stillness is part of movement on some level. That it's all part of movement. I mean, it can't not be.
That I have to say that makes sense. I mean, just this morning, I was like, I gotta just meditate, and I sat down and I was quiet, and it was a lot going on in my head, and I had to do all kinds of gyrations to move things out. But that moment of that time, for those minutes where I was sitting there and being quiet and not doing anything, no movement, it really refreshed my insides and allowed me to then get up and move forward.
Yeah.
We connect to stillness in the moment. Robyn, I'm with you, girl. That's what Carol says. And Shay says, good one, Rev Kevin. Love that. Yeah. He's right on with that how important the stillness is. I think, again, the stillness allows us to be so aware of the movement.
I don't know. Maybe y'all have seen this, but I was on my Instagram, I think, one day, and there was this post that said, take a minute and meditate with me. And it was like, okay, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Everybody do it. Let's dive in. So take a minute, close your eyes if you can, and just take a breath and breathe in. And just say to yourself when you're comfortable, I can't even, wait, sorry. Here we are in the stillness. Stay there while I think. Oh, imagine what your next thought will be. And so come back when you can. What happened for you?
I immediately thought, I have no idea.
Okay. That's not what happened for most people. I don't know what happened, and I may have said it wrong. But what happened, like when I read the chat, and what happened for me was I didn't have another thought.
That's what I mean. I couldn't think of what a thought would be that would come
Exactly.
next.
So I didn't have a thought for a while. I don't, and it just totally like opened up that space, and it was fascinating. And I guess this is an Eckhart Tolle thing. I want to give credit where credit is due, but yeah. So isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
To imagine what your next thought would be
And I was like stumped.
takes you to a blank space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And why was I saying that?
Myrna says her son just said, "What are you thinking?"
Nothing. To which I would normally reply, "That's not possible," but it is. So
It derailed the chatter. Oh, that could be, John. That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because your mind goes, wait, how can I figure out what I'm going to think next? Because how does your mind futurize itself?
Yeah. Yeah. So I say that to say, I mean, to echo the movement in the stillness, and in the silence and in the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
That, on some level, there's always movement. So you ask, what do we want people to take away, or what do we want to leave them with?
Yeah. And what do we think is most important for ourselves and others around this idea of movement?
I did have this quote too. Meditation is to be aware of every thought and of every feeling, never to say it is right or wrong, but just to watch it and move with it. In that watching, you begin to understand the whole movement of thought and feeling. And out of this awareness comes silence.
Krishnamurti. Wow. Out of this awareness comes silence.
Yeah. Which is kind of what happened.
So meditation allows you to become aware of all the thoughts and feelings and then be able to observe them and allow the movement to happen. So movement can happen without us having to make it happen or without us having to be moved by it.
Yeah. I mean, it's always happening. We can't stop it. Can we stop movement?
No, right. It's always happening, which goes back to what I don't remember, someone said earlier, that it's always moving. It's all movement.
Nice, John. As a boy, elders in our hood sat on the porch, and I feel they were in the zone. Porches need to make a comeback so we can be human beings again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating because it is that place of silence, stillness. It's like knowing you're on a break, but we're never on a break. We have devices, we have TVs, we have kids to pick up. You know what I mean? There's never a real break, at least for me. And if I'm in a break, I'm thinking about what I need to do. I'm making a list of what I need to do on some level.
And if you're sleeping, you're dreaming. So you're really not on a break then either.
Well, sleeping is a whole different topic.
Well, if you were to actually sleep.
If I was to actually sleep.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that that movement, that evaluation, that processing is constantly happening within us. Constantly happening. And it's because, I think, if we talk about this way, it's because movement in the world and in our lives is something that is constant and required, really, for us to continue to evolve and grow. If we stay in one place, whether or not we're headed the right direction or wrong direction or left direction or right direction doesn't matter. But if we're stuck in one place, we can't evolve in any direction, whether we're evolving in what appears to be a negative direction or what appears to be a positive direction.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Thank you, Kevin. His heart goes out to us on our move. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for sending us love and showing up and doing the things you're doing for us, and even just in consciousness, knowing that our move is easy and effortless and
safe and beautiful and fun.
Yes. And thank you. And please know that if we haven't called you back or texted you, that it's not because we don't love you. It's because we're just underwater a bit. I'm not claiming that, anybody. I'm just saying it's the truth of the situation. There's a lot going on. So, yeah. So I think that what I think is just, how do we embrace the movement? Whatever it looks like, because sometimes we don't like it, sometimes we do. Sometimes it's like, oh, not now, and like you don't, you're not particularly looking forward to a situation, and then you end up seeing the benefit of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, knowing most of you that have spoken up out there, I know there's movement in your life that we could talk to, whether it's, the loss of a loved one, or whether it's change in a job, or taking on a new job that you didn't know you were going to necessarily do, or whatever it is, or just the day-to-day life stuff, and I know everybody moves through it and is seeing benefit and is seeing the beauty and the grace in it now. So
there's a sale.
A sale in our house?
Yeah, we will be selling multiple pieces of furniture, bicycles, and other items from our home over the next week. So stay tuned if you're interested.
And if you're in the Northern California area, if you need anything.
Yeah, let us know.
So I'm going to leave you with one quote, because I just know that somehow this is, John Steinbeck was my people somehow. Many a trip continues long after movement in time and space have ceased.
Mm-hmm. So that speaks to the illusion that movement requires time and space. Aha! That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not all about time and space.
Yeah. And I am affectionately called by my writing partner No Time and Space Girl, because I have a hard time finding it. Oh, okay. Myrna says, I am imagining you're moving into a new place to decorate, to create, and to see what perhaps was not seeing before.
Yes.
I'll take that. All right. I think that's it for today.
Yep, that's it for today. We are grateful to all of you for hanging out with us. We're excited. We will be back next week. I think I will be coming to you from one of my Albuquerque studios. Robyn will still be here in the Oakland studio.
Surrounded by boxes.
If
you're trying to make out that stuff behind us in the blur, don't even try. It's papers and stuff that we should not take with us.
It looks just as clear if you clear up the picture as it does now. So there you go.
All right, everybody. Thank you, Shay. Thank you, Carol. So good to hear from you, to see you. John, Kevin, Savannah, Mirna. Oh, everybody, and all of you that didn't chat with us, we know you're out there and we love you. If you're watching this later, you know what's yours to do this week, no matter what it is, whether you're moving, whether you're staying stationary, it doesn't matter. We got to rock the love, y'all. That's the movement of the week. Rock the love. We'll see you
Rock
next
it.
week.
Bye now.